That guy right there was outside stand-up comedy one night with like the hottest chick ever waiting for him. Like, and I go, who's this?
Hey, guy,
who's this?
women love funny people.
Who's this girl? I'm going to totally, this is so out of school story that comics should never tell about another comic, but I just love that I can.
Approved.
Yeah. So she's sitting on this, and she is just smoking hot. I mean, just from just the outfit and just beautiful, and he's with her, right? And so I'm like, what's this all about? How did this occur? Because I'm just seething with jealousy. I gotta be honest. Every girl, it doesn't matter who, every girl that I see with another guy that I think is hot, attracts me, I'm pissed and seething.
Did he marry her? Did he end up marrying her? Because he got divorced. I was wondering if that was became his wife.
That's not the way comedy works. So he goes, oh yeah, I met her at a bookstore up at like University of Connecticut. I'm like, what? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah. I told her come down to the city, meet me here and see a show. I'm like, oh, and I was like, oh, what are you gonna do now? He's like, oh, I just told her I forgot something in my hotel room, so we're gonna head back there. I'm like, you fucking dog, I forgot something in my hotel room. Let's head on back.
Hashtag pre-MeToo.
And I was just like,
see, that's the thing.
Hashtag, I don't know where that's still, I don't know where that, but a guy like that, guy was with us. So if you wonder why people go into comedy, or you wonder about power, or you wonder about talent and how it's an aphrodisiac, yes, that absolutely is. It's a girl would drive all the way down Connecticut to see that guy and go.
Now, some in the post-MeToo movement, now that we're in it, would say that's politically incorrect to suggest the wonder that a woman would just be so beyond someone's personality and character and even looks because of power and money and stature. What would you respond to that with?
I would say that there is undeniably an attraction to anybody who gets on stage, whether they're a comedian or a singer. And I'm sure there's empirical data. You could probably interview numerous comedians, and I can tell you there are so many ugly comedians that figure it out right away that if they went on stage, they don't even have to be halfway funny. Yeah. You can be mediocre funny, and girls are going to come talk to you after the show. So again, it may be a Me Too moment, or people can take. I can only tell you of what I know and what I've seen. That if you get on stage and tell jokes, people and women will come and speak to you, and you can just sit back and just talk to them and see where it goes from there. Now, like I said, I was not a big womanizer. There was plenty of opportunity, but my bar was pretty high. I wasn't like these guys. They just they did it for whatever their crazy reasons were. I had to wrestle. That's the thing about me, man. I always have to wrestle with my conscience. Like, what am I doing? And I have to wrestle with this. Am I really doing this for the right reasons? Or is somebody else in control right now? You know what I'm saying? Am I doing this purely for a...
At least you're sort of wrestling with it in real time. Like, my sense of honor and duty, this sounds self-serving, but it's not. It's really sort of...
No, let's see how far we can go with lying to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my honor comes it evidences itself, well, like in real time. If someone is being bullied, whatever, and I'm like, 3'2" and weak and don't know how to exercise or anything, so, but my honor will kick in and I'll say something and my mouth is extremely powerful. It's like as strong as Thanos in comparison to someone's fist. I've never really been into a single fight, even though I've almost been beat up multiple times. But he's nothing. But I always intervene without any consideration of self-harm. But I digress. In these situations where you're like in an intimate situation with a woman, pre, during, or post, you have at least the ability to sort of reason in real time and go, gosh, what, which is what I do. But more often than not, my honor is at an elevated level. And so I'm too stupid to even know or to even consider that something I would have to consider. Let me give you an example. Like, there was a girl I was dating. It was not dating, but, hanging out. Let's call it that. But completely not physical at all. Totally was totally into her. Beautiful girl, like taller than me, but just statuesque, intelligent. We were actually both up for a White House internship. This is whatever, long time ago, decades ago. And we were both up for the same interview. And we both were put in that position from the same source, right? Same contact. And we both decided not to go through with it because there was a burgeoning attraction. I mean, she was me. She was like a female version of me. And I was so into her. And so we had all of these interactions like this. And because I was younger, I was more immature, not in the way I acted, but just stupid, right? And so she was sort of aware and so and active and all these different things. Anyway, she comes over one night, and when I say night, it was like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. I'm like in bed, asleep. She calls, and I'm like, what? Like an asshole. Like, what? Come on, what are you calling me for, right? Not in a second was I thinking, oh, this might be like a booty call or something. She's calling me at like 2 a.m. I'm like, what the hell? Because I won't even allow that sort of dark idea. And plus, I wouldn't even think, oh, it's finally happening. My fantasy is coming true. So she calls me at 2 a.m. and she says, hey, what are you doing? I'm in bed. Like, complete asshole. And keep in mind, I was in love with this girl. And so she says, it's still early. I'm with my friend. Can we come over? So she brings her friend over, this beautiful, equally sexy woman. And my whole manner and tone, and I wish I could be cool in this story, was so like, oh, what the hell? She comes in, and in her mind, I can sort of, in hindsight, be like, this guy's a complete idiot, right? It's 2 a.m. So she comes over, she's quizzing me, she's interviewing me. Like, how thick are these walls? And like, what are you talking about? Like, if there's like a lot of noise, could anybody hear? I go, what are you talking about? They're regular walls, She's like, do you have any tapes? This is in the era of tapes. Do you have any tapes, like videotapes? I had a VCR and I go, yeah, I got tapes. He's like, yeah, do you have any, tapes you can play that, I go, oh yeah. So I put in my curated videotape of Michael Jackson videos. I'm putting that in, I could just, in hindsight, in her head, she's like, this guy. Her friend is like leaning against my knee. She's curled up in my lap. She's saying all these suggestive things that I had no clue, because in my mind, again, that one unicorn fantasy is not about to come true. This is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have this horribly quick three-way, which is embarrassing for everybody. This is going to be awesome, because this is going to be the first time that this thing is going to happen. This girl is gorgeous, right? And so I get through the night. Eventually the girl goes, because I'm twiddling my thumbs. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore, which makes no sense to someone. I mean, anyone who had an amoeba of intellect, that doesn't make, in a sense, in the general, I don't want to do this anymore. Do what anymore, right? But me, completely clueless. The whole point is they left, and I can go on and on with the aftermath of this story, but it wasn't about maybe a week or two later where it was like, oh. Now, I'm a little bit stupid, but at the same time, it came from a pure place. It came from a girl can't come over? Someone you like, a hot girl can't come over, hang out with you, be next to your bed with her friend, right? Not consciously thinking of it, not like social justice warrior, but in that sort of, hey, we can hang out, we can chill, we can relax. This is not sexual. I don't have to be aggressive. I don't have to be thinking about. And this is someone who I wanted to date, someone I deeply wanted to date. So to bring it back around to what you're saying, it's sort of there are people who do the right thing for the wrong reasons, and then there are people who do the wrong thing for the right reason. They don't know they're doing it. And then there's people like you who are always consciously sort of measuring, and rating whether or not this would be the right course of action. And then there are people like me who their base is so, just try to do the right thing, that often it blocks out things that are perfectly fine, but never negate. I can't tell you how many times I've been out with a woman, historically or whatever, and not realize I'm on a date, not realize that the girl's into me. I find out, I used to like you. Wait, what? Why? Most guys can relate to this, right? If you saw that, I'll end here. If you saw that video with Jimmy Fallon and Nicole Kidman, you remember that? Nicole,
I have so many ways. I'm waiting for you to talk. I have so many questions because
I'm going to end right here. But just do you remember that Nicole Kidman goes on the Jimmy Fallon's talk show? You never heard of this?
No.
And he's Saturday Night Live, whatever. It's the exact same thing. And she goes over there because she likes Jimmy Fallon. I think she had left Tom Cruise, whatever. She's single. She goes over to his house. He's playing video games, everything else. He wanted to go out. She left there because he was so clueless. Like, he's an idiot and he doesn't like me. He's not attracted to me. But Jimmy was so clueless that this beautiful woman is in his apartment. They're alone. And he's like just being a dweeb. He's like, hey, you want to play a game? You want to play a game? Completely clueless. It was so uncomfortable and funny, but it felt, watching that interview where she tells Jimmy this, it felt just like that night.
I think that's happened a couple of times with different talk show hosts that somebody came back. I know I think it happened with Letterman as well. A couple of people who had crushes on Letterman.
Well,
I think Julia Roberts implied that something could have happened with Letterman and her, that she was sort of pursuing him.
Yeah.
I think it happened several times, but I don't even know where to go with all that, because whenever we talk, I usually have at least 5 stories that I have to weigh in my head, like which ones I can actually put out there, which ones are safe to tell. But one is
you're in a safe, progressive space.
No, because I have a job and a kid and a wife, and and I'm not Howard Stern or anything like that, and I'm not making money to do this. So one is, it stinks that you're a bit of a nerd back then, big time nerd, because Michael Jackson, a montage tape is like, that couldn't have been a bigger red flag that someone says put a tape in. And you're like, okay, girls, let's get down to this.
A hero of the black people. How dare you?
That's not a slow jam move. That is a weak move by your part.
I'm telling you, I was a complete idiot. And keep in mind, I can't state this enough. I would have crawled and grabbed breadcrumbs to get to this girl, but it never entered my mind. Yeah.
Okay, but so I still think that you're not. If I have to, I'll have to read your Wikipedia page someday, because I do believe that there is some deep-seated stuff going on there for that to fail as miserably.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm an idiot.
And how old were you?
Oh, let me see. I have to think about this. I mean, how old are White House interns? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, so you're pretty young. So that's possible that there was. It makes sense.
It was
for many different reasons. But the other question I would ask you is, how often do you kick yourself in the ass when you go back and play that over in your head? How often does that memory come back yearly, would you say?
Well, let's see. This year is 2018. So it's still recurring in my mind.
Right. So as guys, again, women might not realize. So I've had many different similar situations, but one happened in college. So, and it's a little bit different. And because you were caught off guard, you were sleeping. There wasn't, if I was you, I would have hopped up. I don't drink, but if I had alcohol, I would have started to immediately start to drink. I mean, just because of nervousness. If they're coming over, I want to get the edge off. I don't want to come off as a goofball now if they're coming over. So I think that's part. But so I would tell you the one story I had one night. I go out to college, and it's the first night that I ever truly, truly got high. I didn't smoke a lot, and I smoked a little bit in high school, but I never felt like I got high. I had a friend who was, always had it available. He always had a hitter, and he always had stuff, right? And we always would sit outside on the porch during a party and do something, but I never felt anything from him, so I could do it. So this one night at college, I do my first real series of bong hits, and I am just high off my ass. I have never been so I finally understand what high was. Like, we were just walking around, I was just laughing at everything. Everything was funny. The way that person laughed, the way that person was parking his car. And it was just, for the first time in my life, I'm like, I have no idea why everything is so funny and why I'm laughing. So, then we go to the bars. We're getting slam drunk. Now these two girls are like staying close to me as if, and that's terrible to bring back, but as if there's some sort of mission going, as if I'm a plane and they have to like bring me in, right? So they're on a mission. I have no idea, right? I'm just drunk and high off my ass. They get me all the way back to their dorm room. We are in the room. The one girl is standing watching us. The other girl starts to crawl up on my chest and begins to kiss me. And I say to her, "Don't I know your boyfriend? Aren't we close friends?"
Wow.
And it's like, everybody pulled up. Everybody swerved left. I just remember getting up, walking out of the room.
What sort of, I think there's some deep-seated issues there. I need to follow up with this. Do you still follow up with these thoughts every once in a while?
So two things. Two things. Mm-hmm. There's not a day in my life that I don't think about that. So that's I don't think there's a day in my life that doesn't come back in my head and I go, "You fucking," because it was so pure and it was so in the moment, it was so college and it so didn't matter. And I'm going, "Don't you have a boyfriend?" Her boyfriend was one of my suite mates. That's what was the issue. Her boyfriend was my suite mate. And he was a good guy, sweet guy.
I got to tell you some synchronicity after this.
So I let it go. But the other thing, how I deal with it mentally is how I deal with it when the memory comes back and I go, "Why didn't you?" I go, "What were those two girls' names?"
This is
Do you remember their names?
This is amazing. Yeah.
Nope. No clue what their names were.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why you didn't do it, because you didn't know, you didn't know these people and you needed to know more. You don't know what the issues were going on there. You hadn't, felt out the situation. And I've had numerous situations, particularly in college, where I had to make, this was before I've seen so much bad shit at college when I went away, and I had to make some real decisions all the time that based on, what's the right thing to do here. And, it's hard when you're drunk or you're young and, I've had decisions where I just like, you know what, I gotta get out of here. I just felt like, all right, she seems unstable and this could go horribly wrong. If this doesn't end the way she thinks it's going to end, or, the next day, and I've made some great calls. So, I gotta go with my gut most of the time. Yeah. Most of the time I've made some great calls, but yeah, as far as that, that plays in my mind, and the way I deal with it is I say, "Tell me the names of those girls that you were talking about." I do not remember the names of those girls. So.
I have almost the exact same story, and I'm not going to retell it in such length, but really, almost, page per page or second per second. But what's even more interesting, again, like, one of my best friends at that time, in fact, we're still best friends. Not best friends, but you know what I'm saying. We're still close friends. We're not just Facebook friends. And she's now married and everything else. But at that time, she was dating my best friend. And I just, man alive, beyond crush on this girl. This girl was, every guy wanted to date her. My friend was sort of goofy, but pure. He was just so pure that it was hilarious. He was just a great character. And she was this wild child and everything else. And for some reason, they were together. It was an oddball. And I was friends with this guy, right? And I just had such a crush on this girl that went beyond a crush. I was like, God. And to the point where I told my buddy, I was like, make sure you never break up with her, because I would just die. I would love, so it was like a joke. I was a big clown. But it was true, right? And so she was just so free, and she reminded me almost like a flower child, right? But she would, she would do this, right? And with him next to me like this, and I would avert my eyes, right, out of that base. And see, that's a reaction. That sort of shows you who your character. And she was like, "Oh, why did you turn away?" oh, what are you afraid? I go, no, 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 no. It's respect. You don't think I wanted to see? I would love to see. But my instinct was to avert my eyes. It was like, oh, I never thought of that. I go, I know. You never think of stuff like that. You're a wild child. And so, anyway, they ended up breaking up. She dated all my other friends, all of our friends and stuff, and all these things. And the whole time I was like, gosh, I wish that I could, right? So she went after one friend after another, after another, after another. Got to the point where she was single again. Years later, she had broken up with my best friend. We were doing college and everything else. And to this day, I don't remember. She never called because I had moved and I didn't even know what she was doing, whatever. I just knew that she had broken up. Somehow she tracked me down, knocks on my door, completely unannounced. And I was like, oh, whatever. And I was on the computer doing some stuff, playing around with tech stuff. And I had a camera set up and at that time, it was just like taking snapshots. Like capturing snapshots, like just, one every 30 seconds or something, right? That's as fancy as the technology was. And she comes in, and we're talking for a little bit, and she lays on my bed. And keep in mind, this is very similar to the first story in the sense that I wanted to date her badly. And so, complete that. So she starts laying on my bed, and then she starts to self-pleasure. Okay? And almost no different. And so smoking hot, right? But almost no different than you. This is what cracks me up. Not cracks me up. It's funny and interesting. Everything slowed down in my mind. I mean, in my mind, it felt like, because I was looking at her, and it was like 3 seconds, right? But in my mind, it was like a minute and I was thinking, I was like, especially after coming off of my earlier experience years earlier, I was like, I'm not going to let this pass. But she always had a certain sadness about her. She talked about suicide and everything else. Like I was the only one who could calm her down and stuff. And she had dated all my other friends and everything else. And, it was literally that little cartoon red devil, and not literally, figuratively, that little red devil and that little angel, all in slow motion, because it was a split-second thing. But I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the best thing ever. But I was like, gosh, does she really want to do this? And so it was just that I could have done anything. All I had to do was go over there, and it was on. A few seconds passed, and what came out of my mouth was this. What are you doing? Right? That sounds familiar, like yours, like, like what you, and that's all it took. It snapped her out of whatever mindset she was in. She was like, and she said, oh, I don't know. But of course, she probably was like embarrassed or like I was judging her, which I wasn't. Because if I started moving in on that, whatever, it would have been fine. But I said, what are you doing? So she snapped out of it. She's like, oh, I don't know. Zipped up and everything else. Got up. And that was it. But keep in mind, my camera was rolling, right? It was taking a snapshot every 30 seconds because I was doing some geeky thing, right? And so we were talking for a little bit. I don't remember the depths of that conversation. But I remember going, she's like, you got to delete those pictures. And I was like, can I have one at least, right? Please. And so we literally sat there, and what could have been an awkward moment wasn't, because she was always, expressive. But we went through, it's clips, it's not a video. It's like several, hundreds of photos and being saved into a folder. I think I was testing out a new webcam or something. And so we went there, and she deleted the ones, and she said, yeah, you can have that one. I still have these photos, all right? I can't divulge who this person is, but I forgot to preface this, was as beautiful and sexy as she was, I've never seen her hotter than that night. I mean, she seemed just, she had the fuck me boots, excuse me, on. It was glorious. It's like, let's get married, right? So we delete the pictures, and I'm walking her out at some point, and I'm going to the door, and I'm in my mind going, what the, I'm like, again? And I go, why did I do that? And in my mind, it was sort of the right thing, but I was so torn. And as she was walking out, she was like, she turned to me and she said this. She goes, thank you. And, excuse me for the language, but this is what she said. She said, thank you for not fucking me. And I remember I turned towards her and I go, really? And she's like, yeah. And she said, like, why didn't you, And I go, I'm paraphrasing, so I don't remember the exact details, but it was something along the lines of, well, you got to know that I would have loved to, but you have dated like all of my friends, and you've always sort of judged your self-worth through these relationships. And I always thought you were better than these people. I always thought you were so funny and so smart and so beautiful, but there was like a little bit of sadness to you. And I just thought in that moment that maybe I was just going to be another guy and you were checking them off the list because I was like the last one that held out. And I want you to leave here. And again, I'm paraphrasing. I remember and I want you to leave here knowing that I cared more about you in this moment than I cared more about me in that moment. And I said something, which I won't say, you'll find out later. I said something after that about how unique she was, using some words. And that was it. Then she left. And the reason I won't say those words, because when I found out when I got an update on her life, like a couple of years later, we lost a little bit of contact. Not contact, but we went to college and stuff. Is that she opened up a business which reflected those two words that I told her, why she was special. She started this business and called it that thing. And I go, I got that positive, I got that like I did the right thing. I was like, yes. It still hurts to this day because you don't know how smoking hot she was. But I got at least sort of confirmation of doing the right thing, even if I sort of knew it was the right thing. But you always sort of wonder, like, what harm could it have done? Come on, just a little, that was going to be. But it sort of gave her something, I think, in the back of her head that not to over dramatic, make it melodramatic, but maybe sort of was a split that I am important. Now she's married. I know her husband has how many kids? Just one kid, right? Yeah, one kid. Has a beautiful daughter and everything else. And so you think about those small little impacts that can have great impacts. And I was willing to sacrifice that very painful moment because it would have been just a wonderful experience for me and everything else. But I think she ultimately got more out of that than ever I could. So for whatever, but your story has reminded me of that moment exactly to the T.
Well, I always want to go back to every girlfriend I've had or any encounter and either apologize or update or figure out. Like, I'm definitely one of those weird guys who's like, yeah. I know with Facebook, I know I went to like my 6th grade. I had a girl who had a crush on me in 5th grade, and I I was just too into sports, as you read my journal, and I never pursued. And then like a year later, she like hated me because she was like the hottest thing. So on Facebook, I was like, hey, I wanted to contact you to just tell you what like occurred in 6th grade and why I spurred you. She never even responded. She's like, what the fuck is this for real? This fucking guy wants to contact me to figure out what happened in the 6th grade? No, you're not getting a response, you nut. You just go on with your life.
Well, let me ask you a question, not a statement, a question. Like, what do you think it says in terms of maybe even relating it to the MeToo movement, but just male psychology or even human psychology, where we still retain these moments? Is it because they're electric moments, or does it comment on something more about getting older or thinking about.
Well, it's funny you did keep it in full circle, because one thing is like your story is it's Black Mirror. I mean, it's like it's a Black Mirror moment because you have this weird technology camera going, so you actually got to see in real time how you were appearing and how it was all going down, only in a non-verbal way, right? So you two were able to review a sort of very poignant moment in two people's lives,
it was,
right?
Yeah.
And then you're deleting that moment in a very Jim Carrey, what's that movie?
Very painful, yeah.
You're deleting the moments. You're getting, okay. You're never going to be with this woman. You know, that moment's fleeting away, and this memory is going, and you're doing it together, and you're making a decision of what you can keep. It's very deep. It's actually a short story that should be written. But that's a different question. The question you're asking, I can't answer, because I've wanted to be a writer since maybe I knew it was normal to want to be a writer. So, I want to keep all these.
You are a writer as a comedian.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say
different
that,
form of writing, but the exact same sort of dedication and.
Well, you want to talk about things that are painful and personal. I've dated more than enough women who've said to me, "You're not a writer." So and you'll never forget that. Because I'm writing, I'm a writer, and they're like, "No, you're not a writer."
Yeah, but these people.
Like, whoa! But I mean, like. Talk about going for the jugular, because I know there was times where I didn't respond, or I was like, no, I fucking get paid. I get on stage, I tell jokes, I get paid. I'm a writer. Like I'm defending myself. And then there's some that I just let go. I think after a while, as soon as I said that, I was like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. In my head, I'm like, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
Like that, you'll never fix that statement.
Well, obviously,
they're
a little bit ignorant, or a lot ignorant, but more so just
but again, they're
intentionally trying to put a knife in your heart.
And I've dated some women who I guess at the end were really like, I know where he lives, I know where his heart is, and I'm just going to stick it right in there. So that's happened more than other times. So I always want to be a writer. I've always wanted to remember all my different events. It's different for me. And we've talked about this many times. I mean, I wish I could have kept a journal from a younger age. It would have been fascinating. I had a computer at my college, and I didn't even keep a journal then, so I don't really have anybody to blame. I don't know why I didn't start to do what I said. I think it, again, has a lot to do with parenting. I remember my mom, I started to write, and my mom came in one time. I was using her typewriter, and I remember her ripping the story out and like, don't use my typewriter. And I just remember, like, you're just so startled, and you thought your mom would have been so impressed that you were typing and writing the story. Mm-hmm. She came in, pulled the story out, don't use my typewriter. And it was like, so like, it was, you won't forget that moment. You're like, holy fuck, what was that? So
my father threw away my collection of Highlights magazines, and that just crushed me. And he didn't do it out of any maliciousness, but to him, he had zero emotional connection to my Highlights. And he was like, look at this trash, threw it out. And I had such a, those they're still going on, but I love those, and they probably would have been worth money today, because I was a pack rat keeping those, because those experiences were in those magazines and what was happening around them and during the time. So yeah, I can relate to that.
So it's sort of fascinating. There's different reasons why writer, comedy, wanting to document my life, to see the changes, to go back and understand different events. I've always had a thing about hot chicks, and this is nothing new. Howard Stern's covered it, but you do realize over time that hot chicks really like the bad boy who knows how to be the bad boy, who dresses like the bad boy. If you get a really hot smoking, and even they don't turn out right, because what the hell happened to Angelina Jolie? Jesus, whoa,
she's still hot.
No, but I'm saying, why is she like bringing Brad Pitt out and just dragging him through the mud like you're not a good dad? Like, I don't understand doing that when you have all these kids and like starting this public row that's going to affect your children. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, that doesn't seem like the right way to go if you have all these young children that you're trying to raise and bring this thing publicly. It just seems strange. I'm sure everybody's financially fine over there. You don't have to bring this to the public. But anyway, to get a hot chick, you really have to play the bad boy role. And again, you have to decide, do I want to fake it and play the bad boy role? I've always been a straight edge. So if a hot chick comes my way, it's just like, what is happening? I'm getting the hot chick that I should not be getting. I got to just enjoy this moment. So hot chicks like bad boys, and you got to dress that way, and you got to talk that way, and you got to act that way. And if they start talking to me, they're like, what is this? This is not what I signed up for. This weirdo. So I've never been able to like hold it together. Or the way you get around that is you meet that person for one night, you're in the bag, you drink a little bit, and they have no idea who you are. They think you're somebody else. You know, so that's that. Again, that's the other thing that always scared me is that you could be somebody else when you're drunk, right? You can be somebody else when you drink. I've had smoking hot chicks that again came my way that like I saw in college, and you hook up and you're like, I never thought this was going to happen, and then I'd be sitting there writing a paper, right? writing a paper, and there's a knock at the door. I open the door, it's this smoking hot chick. She's totally drunk. And she comes in the room and I'm like, okay, well, there's the bed. Go lay down because I got a paper to write.
Well, that's the problem. That was sort of like with the two women, two girls at the time, who were over. I was a boy, so everybody settled down. But when they came over, it's an unimaginable thing. In your little tiny puny, you're like, come on, who am I? What am I? And so when you're presented with an opportunity like that, you can go extreme and completely miss it, like me. But there could be other moments where you're like fully present, but you're still going, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And you go, oh, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, right? You get a little jump in your step, and I don't want to say you try to upgrade, but you're like, oh, look what I can do. Look what I can do, right? And so you start to like, oh, right? And I can't think of the Chris Rock line, but he's like, men are... help me if you remember it, but Chris Rock says something along the lines of men will cheat based upon availability and opportunity, something like given the opportunity and wherever they are. And so that's who they will whatever sort of pursue. But I lost my train of thought.
I have to always do that to myself. Like I always downgrade myself to keep myself out of trouble. I'm like, what do I'm poor. I'm old. You know what I'm saying? I always have to ground myself before I start thinking like, a lecherous guy. I have to ground myself in reality of who I am to just, and I don't think
that's a double-edged sword.
Well, it is because it'll drag you down, but at the same time,
it'll drag you up though too, wouldn't it?
It's a possibility. It hasn't worked for me. But
what I'm saying is if you keep moving yourself like, oh, I'm this and I'm old and I'm all that, that sort of opens up a wider door to me of someone peeking in. They have more space to peek in, and you go, oh, you looking at me? You looking at, you know what I mean? If you sort of like, I'm saying as a married man, you have to really find ways to control your own, whatever it is, like get yourself wrapped around who you really are and what you're all about. So it's a constant conversation. Now, I don't think all guys have to do that. Some guys are completely family men. They're completely businessmen. That's what I'm saying. I was a stand-up comic. So are there men
I don't know.
Who are really...
I don't know if they're willing to admit. Yeah. I assume that they're all very similar. That's my take. I think a lot of guys would deny that, and for many different reasons. But my take is I think I have a real good handle on the way most guys are, or the way they wish they could be. I mean, there's definitely certain things, but like I said, I have to develop ways to just curtail my behavior. I'm always inside my head, trying to curtail or push myself to act the right way, to do the right things, to make the phone calls, to go shop, I'm always. So I don't think I'm as normal as I could be, but I think most guys do struggle with being a guy, and I think the women. I love the women who
people
get
struggle.
guys.
People struggle to. I think humans struggle in what it means to be human.
And I know we agree to disagree on that. I have always felt women are way better than men, and it'll always be my contention. I will never defend men.
We're not saying anything in disagreement. I mean, I think women are better than men too.
But you're always
what I'm saying is
you always go back to but they're all humans. Look,
no. See, I'm not saying that. I hate that sort of those sentimental platitudes. I hate them. What I'm saying is my personal belief, and I've stated this to many people in the past, that women are smarter and all these different things. But what I'm saying is, I think both men and women equally, if not more so, women struggle with what it means to be human, and what it struggles to mean to be women. That has nothing to do with them being better or not. I think, and I know this, women every day are questioning their self-worth. their physicality. Are they beautiful? Are they intelligent? The society is sort of forcing them to ask those questions. Men that they date or whoever they date, they're constantly, you ain't shit, right? And I just think it gets more overlooked that men are always questioning too. They're questioning, am I strong? Am I a provider? And all these different things. Well,
that's funny because I still feel like men, and the guy, Ben Shapiro, is similar, is because I saw him do another video. We don't do enough. And men think they do enough to help women. They think that everything's okay and they do enough to help women towards equality. And I don't have the data. I only have life experience. Most guys are just like, I don't get it. I don't get what they want. I don't get what the issue is.
Well, that's of course.
It's just like, you're just like, oh my God, you don't get it? Like, how do you not get, like, I don't have time to sit here and tell you how to get it. So,
Yeah, but you gotta be careful with that though, because, you're more woke than the average person. I'm not saying there aren't other woke people. There's, millions of progressives. But what I'm saying is, woke progressives, for all of their, flaws, arguably can see things and sense things and be empathetic about things that other people aren't. And so if someone who's ignorant in the classical sense comes along and says, I don't get it, well, that's about right. We know you don't get it. And so should the response be, who the fuck are you? Or should it be more, yeah, I get it. But it's a compliment to you and other people, just like geniuses and everything else. Geniuses rarely think that they're geniuses. I mean, feel that they're geniuses. Their reaction to most things is more organic. It's more like, gosh, these people are dumb, which is different. All right, which is much different from going, oh, gosh, I'm really smart. They think they're at a normal state because that's from where they come from, and they just sort of think, God, people. And so you meet these people, and I will tell you, they're often just woke people. It's that feeling like, what the hell is this person doing? That's a sign of genius, right? That's the way it exhibits itself. I don't get why people are beating each other up and smacking each other. So you're blessed with the curse and the gift of being awake. And when someone dumb comes along and is sort of like, I don't get it, remember your position on the totem pole and go, okay, I should maybe educate this person and bring them up. Because to expect people who are sort of dumb to suddenly become smart and go, I now get it by themselves isn't, intellectually right. Not the right thing to do.
But I always feel like when you run into these people, so I'm a gambler, I'm a card player, I'm a comedian. My job is to read people as quickly as possible and move on. So if I sense that, I'm not going to spend my time.